Hey everyone, welcome to Good Mourning Mom, the podcast where mourning is still mothering. Before we jump in, I just want to remind you this space is about healing, honesty, and growth. Today's guest is Claire Fitoussi, a mother who walked through the unimaginable heartbreak of losing one of her twin sons just hours after birth. During her pregnancy, Claire and her husband were told that baby B would not survive outside the womb. And for months they lived suspended between hope and grief, praying, waiting, and trusting God through overwhelming uncertainty. In this episode, Claire shares the story of Shemayah's life, the trauma of an emergency C-section and NICU goodbye, and the deep ways she experienced God's presence in the middle of profound pain. This conversation is tender, faith-filled, and honest, about grief, fear, peace that surpasses understanding, and the ways God carries us through suffering one moment at a time. If you are walking through loss, waiting in uncertainty, or wrestling to understand where God is in your pain, I pray this conversation reminds you that you are not alone. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. Before we get started with our conversation, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family?
Yes, so my name is Claire Fitoussi. Alon and I have been married this December for 10 years.
Mm.
And this side of heaven, we have an almost 4-year-old little girl and an almost 2-year-old little boy. Um,
Aw,
I
that's
guess I'm
awesome.
keeping their names off just.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Totally fine.
Okay.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell us about finding out that you were pregnant.
Um, so it was December 18th, 2023. That was our 7-year anniversary, wedding anniversary. Um, I was like, I think I'm pregnant again. So test, it was positive. Um, and we were just, thought it would be a singleton again,
Mm,
like our first pregnancy.
hmm.
So we were excited. Um, so I scheduled my appointment with the appointment with my OB. That was, I think it was January 17th of 2024. And she, they start the ultrasound and I saw something on the screen and she said, "Do you see what I'm seeing?" And I didn't believe it. I was just in my head. I'm like, I think I see two babies.
Mm.
And then didn't say anything, but she's just like, "You have twins." And my husband was holding our daughter and almost fell off his chair. So it was exciting and very, very, like, we were very, very nervous.
Yeah.
So finished that appointment. The next month, I had already, I think it was I guess, first or second time at the specialist. So this was February of 2024. That we were told, because I had one placenta. I think that's automatically identical twins is when you have one placenta. I think
Oh,
there's so much information. I don't remember everything. Didn't even understand all of it when I was going through it.
right.
um, but so found out in February that they were boys, identical twin boys.
So, what were those early months of pregnancy like emotionally and spiritually
Before we found out.
before you found out? Yeah.
I mean, I was hungry all the time. I don't even know, like, I didn't even know what it felt like to be full
Mm.
anymore. Um, so I mean, it was great. I was in December, to go back a little bit in December. I was a very, very, very nauseous,
Mm.
and in my head, I said, I wonder if there are two babies in there. I didn't tell
Yeah.
anyone. It was one of those things that it's just like, no, like, that's not gonna happen. Twins don't run in our family. So I mean,
I
it was.
actually had, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I had for me it was a weird experience. I knew very early that I was pregnant, and I also like felt very early as soon as I found out I was like, this is twins. This is twins for sure. And for me, the only way that I can explain it to anybody is that everything was like from my first two pregnancies, it felt amplified. I felt like I was double pregnant. Like I felt double pregnant. Like everything was like doubled. Yeah.
Yes. Like I was nauseous with our daughter, but I was like, oh no, this is, and it was so, yeah, it was so early.
Yeah.
Like I found out 2 weeks ago I'm pregnant. I should not be feeling like this. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Very crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was good other than just, it would, if would describe it as if you've ever seen piranhas eat, where it's like the second it hits, they devour it and it's
Yeah.
gone. Like that's what
Yeah.
it feels like to eat. I'm
Yeah.
like, nothing stays. I'm always hungry. So really it wasn't bad. I
Mm-hmm.
had some of those little, lozenges or whatever that you
Mm-hmm.
take for nausea. I needed more than what the bag said I should take, so I couldn't take them all the time. But it really wasn't that bad. I think we were just very happy because we used to joke that I wanted 4 kids and he wanted two. So then we found out we're having twins. So it's like, oh well, there's the compromise. We have
Mm-hmm.
three. We'll have three. So yeah, it wasn't really bad.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It
Okay.
was very well. Yes, it was good.
So when did you first realize that something might be wrong with baby B?
I was this was the beginning of April, so I guess it was it was about halfway.
Mm.
They had given me a due date of the end of August, August 23rd, but they were like, "Yeah, you're probably not going to make it to August 23rd." So I was just under halfway. But at the end of March, like my second or third time at the specialist, the doctor had very casually said, "Baby B, like his bladder looks a little small."
Mm.
Like, we'll just keep an eye on it. And because of the way she said it, I was like, okay, great. Like, we'll keep
Yeah.
an eye on it. You do not seem concerned about this.
Mm.
Um, so we found out April 3rd. It was a Wednesday. It was the day after my birthday. And I had seen a different doctor than the previous times. And she told me that she didn't even think he had a bladder or kidneys.
Oh, wow.
Um, and just kind of that was it. And she said, so I'm going to call the hospital. We're going to do an MRI because we want to confirm whether I'm right or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I just left and I tried so hard not to just lose it between the doctor's office and the car.
Sure.
I was very much fighting back so many tears and just
Mm.
crying. So I made it to the car and then I felt like I could break down because these people I'm walking past are probably going to be like, "What is going on with this girl?" Yeah, it was Wednesday, April 3rd, um, and so this was in the morning, I think, or early afternoon, and the doctor, the specialist, called, I guess Northside. I think we went to Northside, Atlanta, um, and that those people, that hospital, got back to me within like the next hour.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
to schedule it because the specialist had said like we really need her in now to
Yeah.
confirm this or not. And so I call these things um little points of mercy where the Lord would, like, when I just go back and look at everything that happened, I
Mm.
can see where the Lord was. So
Mm.
the first one was that the doctor who was going to do the MRI, read it and or I guess read the MRI, had basically cleared her schedule for the next 2 days and said, "You just tell me, does Thursday or Friday work for you?"
Mm.
Um, so Thursday, and also my mom was on. She works for the um, public school system, so she was on spring break,
Mm.
so she could watch our daughter. Because we ended up scheduling it for the next day,
Mhm.
Thursday, April 4th. But we had to be there down in Atlanta at like 7 a.m., six forty-five,
Yeah.
7. So my mom was able to watch her daughter. We went down there and we couldn't, like, we did the MRI and everything. We could not talk to that doctor in person just because I guess her schedule or whatever.
Mm.
So she ended up calling us um, later that same day, but later. And she did like a video call so we could see the pictures or whatever. I know there's probably a scientific term for the pictures. I don't remember what they're called, but anyways, said you can see baby A. Like we can see his bladder, we can see his kidneys, we know exactly where they are.
Yeah.
Baby B, it's not. I guess as do they show up bright on an MRI? I can't remember, but
I don't
they're
know.
just yeah. I thought that they did because I thought she said that baby B's were just darker and just not as
Mm.
you just can't see them and they're very small. So she said, I'm not God, but in my experience, your baby's not going to live after birth.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just assumed that when babies grow, everything grows. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
weird, intricate system. Not weird,
Right.
but amazing when you think about it, how the Lord
Yeah.
creates us. But he had to urinate to have the urine go into the fluid so that he would drink it and then the lungs would grow.
Mm.
So their concern were that he or was that he probably didn't have lung or strong lungs, wouldn't be able to breathe and all that.
Right.
Um so that was April 4th. Um and then just from there, we never got a diagnosis.
Mm.
There was no formal like this is what you have. There's
Oh,
some things
wow.
online that I thought sounded very, very, very similar, but never had a diagnosis for that. And then just from that was pretty much nothing really changed. There were a
Mm.
couple of things that changed, but that was just yeah.
How did you and your husband process the possibility that one of your sons might not survive?
That's a good question because I don't. It was I don't know. It was just so much of a like a blur.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there was never a time that we doubted that the Lord could change things, that he could heal him and make the doctors, wrong, not wrong, but there's so many times where it's been told your baby won't live or your baby will
Right.
have this and
Right.
they come out fine because they don't know. My doula likes to say, I think she said that to her, the womb is kind of like the ocean. We're
Mm.
never going to know everything about it. Like we only know so much. And so
Mm.
I think she said that. But yeah, it was really hard at times because
Mm.
nothing really changed. There was no diagnosis. There wasn't anything that we could do and like chug 15 gallons of water or like do these things to hopefully help. But so it was just we just had to pray. I mean, that's all we did was just pray and hope that the Lord would answer our prayers and that we
Yeah.
would leave the hospital with two living babies. Um,
Were there like specific prayers or scriptures or moments that anchored you during that season?
um, there was, I was doing a women's Bible study at our church, going through, don't remember, I want to say it was the Philippians, but I could be wrong. But one of the questions in our Bible study, I think this was before we found out
Mm.
about everything. So this was sometime in March. I don't know, but whatever the question was, my answer was talking about you have Isaiah 29 and Isaiah 45, which talk about like the clay and the potter.
Mm.
And I just remember thinking about that more.
Mm.
And then all this happened. Um, and I didn't think too much on those verses, but if I thought about anything, it was probably those.
Mm.
Because on it again, I should go back and like look at my. I didn't write too much during that time, but um, yeah, those verses just that the Lord, we are His creation, and
Yeah.
he does whatever he wants with us.
Mm.
Even though as a kid, when I'm like, yes, like you're the potter, I'm the clay, like use me, it's like my son is clay too, and
Right.
my parents are clay, and my spouse is clay, and
Yeah.
so sometimes it just felt so much like, yes, do to me whatever you want, but I
Mhm.
forget that the people I love are also clay, and he can do
Yeah.
whatever he wants. I hope that
How did
makes.
that feel to you? Was that a comforting thing, or was it something that made you wrestle with your faith or wrestle with how you perceived God?
No, I didn't ever struggle with anger towards God or
Okay.
doubting God. I know in one of the questions you sent, I had answered. Just well, lost my train of thought. No, I didn't ever. Oh, I struggled with what, just why. Like,
Hmm.
can you just tell me why this is happening? Because I just wanted an answer. I
Yeah.
just, can you, or at least I don't. Oh, that was another thing. I sorry. Yes, we did pray this. We started praying that He would prepare our hearts
Mm.
for whatever the outcome was.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it wasn't a us doubting that He could, like I said, could heal him. Um, it was just more of like, are you going to heal him?
Hmm.
Because I don't know what your plans are. And so, yes, I do. It is coming back now that yes, we just started praying that His will would be done, that He would prepare our hearts, and that even if our son died, that the Lord would still be glorified, and that we would still be a good witness to whoever we encountered.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you waited and hoped and you had to pray and just wait for months. And so what did hope look like for you during that time?
That's a good question. Um, because there were just days that I felt like I was just living in like I just wasn't living in reality where I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, I think sometimes I tried to ignore the reality.
Hmm.
Um,
Did you feel like pressure to have enough faith for a miracle?
no, um, that's just because a lot and I don't believe that he would be healed according to our faith. Uh,
Right.
so we don't believe in that. We could have all the faith that someone said we needed, and the Lord could still choose to not heal him because it's
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
Lord's will. What did hope look like? Um, I mean, if I'm my flesh would say holding him in our
Mhm.
arms as a living child.
Yeah.
Um, but then too, knowing that if the Lord didn't heal him, our hope ultimately is eternity with the Lord, but also knowing that our son's going to be there too, and we will see him
Hmm.
again.
Were there people who supported you well during pregnancy?
Yes, yes.
Tell me about that.
Our church was just, or is, um, very. I mean, we had only been there a year and a half,
Mm.
barely,
Okay.
and they just would stop us in the halls and ask us how we're doing, and people would, pray for us. And we have like these little community groups, little where the church splits up, and we meet every other week, a month, so a couple times a month. And so they would just be praying for us and let us know that, and if we needed anything, just we could ask them for anything. So yeah, I mean, it was unexpected because we're like, well,
Mm.
we're new, but that's not a requirement for the
Yeah.
body taking care of the body.
Right.
So it was very sweet to have all these people, um, just stop us and talk to us and encourage us.
Mm.
Um,
Were there things that were there things people said that were unintentionally hurtful?
no, and that was something that after everything happened with him, because this might be fast forwarding to another question at some point, but no, during that time, no, I just um, had to remember I am someone who so desperately wants to help people feel better.
Mm.
And there's sometimes that I should just keep my mouth shut.
Hmm.
Um, because I wouldn't, I don't always like the phrase like, oh, just be prepared for somebody to say something stupid to you because there are, I just, most people are just trying to help
Sure.
and maybe they should not have said anything, but I tried to just not, uh, just show them grace.
Mm.
Because if they're genuine, they may just be feeling the same thing that I still feel and still struggle with because words are never going to help. Only the
Yeah.
Lord helps. But
Right.
still, they may just want to say something to help. So, anyways, short answer no. There was nothing that anyone, I mean, I don't remember anything. And so
Mm.
I also just, like I said, just tried to show people grace
Yeah.
because you don't know if you've
Yeah.
never been through this. Like the truth of Scripture is true. Like it is true that he is in a better place. It is true that he's with the Lord. So if
Hmm.
somebody tried to encourage me with that, it would just be like, this is truth.
Hmm.
Maybe not like the most appropriate time, but
Yeah.
it is still truth.
Yeah.
So if that makes
That's a
sense.
really gracious perspective for you to have. So I think that, I don't know, it seems like situations like this, we as human beings just have a tendency to be we really touchy on certain things. But yeah, that's a really gracious perspective.
Well, we might get to it later. There, I did struggle with
Okay.
a few things, so we might get to that. But yeah,
Okay. Can you walk us through the day that everything changed?
yes, I can. So there's, we won't get into it for time, but there's some backstory to. I had just been in the hospital the 2 days before on the 17th for my OB sent me for a checkup
Mm.
for the boys and everything. But this whole time, vitals were always good, heartbeats were always good. The checkup they sent me to because of my blood pressure, nothing came out of that.
Mm.
So not 48 hours later, it was Friday, July 19th. We had already had a C-section scheduled for Thursday, July 25th.
Mm.
So a week out. I had a regular, just like kind of pre-op appointment with the doctor who would be doing the surgery. Um, and they called me before I came in. I mean, this is early, and like my mom wasn't here yet to watch our daughter. But they said, oh, she wants to add an ultrasound before she sees you.
Mm.
And I was just so tired of ultrasounds because the specialist was every week for 3.5
Right.
months,
Yeah.
at least for 30 minutes. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, inside, I'm like, no, I'm screaming, no, I'm not doing another ultrasound. I
Yeah.
just did
I
one.
have definitely been there.
Yeah, you know. So, anyways, I'm like, I just tell the lady on the phone, sure. I probably am not going to get there any earlier because y'all are calling me like right, as I'm, anyways. So I said, sure, I will try and get there early. I didn't get there early. um, but the side note, again, like the little mercy point or whatever that I call it, is I had, when I woke up that morning, I just briefly checked social media and saw that like the Atlanta airport was complete chaos because all of the flights were canceled. No
Mm.
flights were coming, no flights were going. But I was just like, well, this doesn't affect me. So selfishly, I was like, I don't need to figure out what's going on. I don't need to go search for a headline somewhere.
Right, right.
So um we anyways, I get to the appointment, they start the ultrasound, and I think most women early on can just, if you can read anything on an ultrasound, you know where the heartbeat is. Like that's one
Hmm.
thing I'm always like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Um, So the tech tells me, we don't have the equipment that the specialist does, but I don't like baby B's movements. Like he's just not moving enough for me. I mean, he'd always been up in my rib, just
Yeah.
sitting there. Like baby A was kicking. He
Mm-hmm.
was moving. But she's like, when I get like a heartbeat reading, it's not good and it's low. So we're probably gonna send you to the hospital. Of course, I'm like, I don't want to go. Because they've asked you like, oh, are you counting kicks? And yes, but I said, do I double the kicks because I have double the kid? And they're like, oh, no, not really. So I'm like, well, I don't know what you want from me. Like, you don't want me to double the kicks, but
Right.
you also want to. Anyways, it's very confusing sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
the doctor comes in, and I'm like texting a lot about something else, and I'm just like, oh, they're probably gonna send me to the hospital. Then I'm like complaining, I don't want to go. And so I end up going. They send me to the hospital, and this lady has checked me. This would be the third time of her checking me in. She's at the labor and delivery, whatever check-in desk, and she's like, "You're here without your husband again." She's like, "Where is your husband?" I'm like, "Well, these are supposed to be routine. Like, there's not supposed to
Right,
be
right.
issues." But they had told me when I left my OB, like, don't eat anything and don't drink anything because we're probably gonna deliver today.
Oh, wow.
And so this sweet lady is checking me in. She's like, "Oh, they told you not to eat or drink." She's like, "Yeah, they're gonna keep you." And so I'm like, "But I got things to do. I need to say goodbye to my daughter. Like, I need to finish packing my bag." She's like, "Yeah, they're probably not gonna want you to leave." So um, they take me back in this. Everyone who took care of us was amazing, very sweet. We're very thankful that the Lord put all of those teams together. But the nurse she said that she was going to get me as ready as she could for a C-section. So I found out from her that the chaos at the airport was due to Microsoft crashing. And so I was like,
No.
oh, yeah, okay. So because of that, the specialist I saw was in the same hospital I'm delivering at.
Uh-huh.
So they just have to wheel me up there. But because of the Microsoft crash, they sent everyone home except one doctor and one like tech or one nurse.
Mm.
So they would have gotten me in as fast as they could for a recheck,
Mm.
even with other patients, just because of everything that was going on. But the fact that no one would like everything was canceled. So they took me straight away, and I told Alad before they took me to this get checked with a specialist. He's probably gonna need to tell his boss that his paternity leave was starting that day.
Yeah.
And that was at the last thing I sent him was asking if our daughter went to sleep, and that was at 12. My mom had gone home because our daughter was sleeping, and like an hour and a half later, I had been with the specialist. He comes in, the doctor I have never seen before. And of course I go back to the heartbeat, like I can see the what do you call it? Why am I blanking? Anyways, his heart rate was 74.
Mm.
And basically the first thing that I remember coming out of the doctor's mouth was she should already be on the table.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I'm texting a lot like they're talking emergency C-section. And so from this very poor nurse who had to wheel me as fast as she could to the OR, I'm texting my husband and doula and like giving them both the numbers because the hospital had called my husband and told him, you need to come now. So I told him you need to tell my mom to come back now because they're gonna want you here. Anyways, so I have the emergency C-section, um, and the boys were born. Baby A was born at 2:20 p.m. and baby B was 2:21 p.m.
Wow.
And so I woke up around 5:30.
Mm.
Um, I briefly remember the NICU doctor talking to Alad, my husband, and I like 2 seconds of that. And then I
Yeah.
remember, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And then I just remember hearing my doula, they allowed another thing the Lord allowed is my doula, they let her stay with me while Elad went with the boys,
Mm-hmm.
which prior to that, they're like, you can only have one person and they have to choose be with you or the boys. So we had talked about this and I said, you're going with them because they have no say. You have to tell the doctors what you want done to them. I'm fine.
Right, right.
I'm taking care of. I'm not even going to be awake for a while. So you go be their voice and keep them
Yeah.
safe. So I remember waking up to my doula praying with me. Um, and then they just uh, took me up. We saw baby A, and then they took us to baby B. And the first thing that I, again, remembering things is very hard for me because that day was very crazy. But
I don't
what
know
I,
about you, but I have like after every C-section, I have like a 2 hour period where I'm black. I don't remember anything.
yeah.
Did that happen? Does that happen to you?
Um, I guess it feels that way because they're
Yeah.
just like, I'm like, what happened? Like, I
Yeah.
don't, or time moved very weird. It was,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
like,
my body like during a C-section, as I've had three now.
okay.
So during a C-section, like I feel like I'm high.
Mm.
And but like I'm so active and so alert. Like my last one with the twins, I was cracking jokes with the doctors. Like I'm singing with the radio. And then like after every C-section, there's like a 2 hour time span where I remember nothing that happened afterwards.
No, I don't think I remember that, but it just things are very blurred. Like I'm just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like watching a movie that I kind of remember that I'm like,
Right.
I think they
Yeah.
said this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just very fuzzy sometimes where I'm like, am I like picturing this in my head because you told me this happened, or do I actually remember this?
Uh-huh.
But fuzzy. It's definitely fuzzy.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they took you to see the babies. Tell us about
Yes.
that.
And baby A was, I think he was asleep. I think he was sleeping when we first saw him. So we're like, okay. So they had connecting rooms. But I'm in the giant hospital bed. So they have
Yeah.
to get me in and out. Um, so that room got very small because I'm in this giant hospital bed. But there's a very sweet nurse who had kind of already told a lot of things that were going on. And then I came up when the first things that I remember out of the NICU doctor's mouth was, we don't foresee him living through the night. And if he does, I think he said he will have neurological issues.
Mm,
And then I mean, like, not in those moments, but looking back, it's just, I always thought the lungs were the issue. And then it was
yeah.
just turned into so much more because he was 3 pounds, 10 ounces, I think.
Mm,
Baby B and baby A was 5 pounds. Um, I mean, he had a, was it pneumothorax? Is that like a hole in your lung or collapsed lung or something? So
yeah.
I mean, he just had tubes everywhere. We
Mm,
couldn't hold him, obviously, but
right.
we did, like, we have pictures of his teeny tiny hand, like, wrapping
Aw.
around one of our fingers. Um, but yeah, so that was probably between, I don't know, that had to be 5:30, 6 p.m. roughly.
Mm,
Um, and then we were just up spending time with him, spending time with not so much baby A yet, which
hmm
throughout the whole pregnancy, after everything that we were told he wouldn't live, baby A felt like he went to the back burner because it was like, he's good, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And it was, people would ask us, how's baby B? Did anything change?
hmm
And so we were talking about him, and I'm like, oh, yes, baby A is still fine. So I always felt like he was just shoved to the back burner. And not that we didn't want to see him, but it's just hard because we couldn't be with both of them at the
Yeah.
same time. They're in different rooms. But um, we did go back. I think, again, like I said, the timeline's very fuzzy. But at
hmm
one point, our teaching pastor and the community group leaders that we had, they came to visit around 8. And I assume that hospitals break rules when things like this happen for the
Yeah.
most part. I don't know. But there's only supposed to be like one person, like two people in the NICU room at the same time. Like it would be me and you, or Alad and his brother.
Mm-hmm.
But they had all of us in there.
Mm-hmm.
So they let all three of them come in. They prayed with us, talked to us, and they were there for about 2 hours. And the whole time, again, my memory is correct. The whole time that they were there, those full 2 hours, he was breathing on his own.
Oh,
Like the
wow.
machines were not working for him. He was breathing on his own, which we thought was a turning point. Um, so we were very hopeful. But anyways, they left around 10. At 10, we went to go see baby A again, spend time with him. And then around 11 p.m., the nurse came in and said, he is in DIC and y'all need to come now. So again, if I remember, do you know what DIC is?
No, no.
So essentially they said it's a bleeding issue and a clotting issue. So he was basically bleeding out and he either was not clotting, or if he did clot, it was either too small or in the wrong spot. So essentially he was just bleeding out. So do we know they had like 3 levels of medicine for his heart?
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the last level. They say, this is all we can do. We'll give this to him. I think they don't, I think there was a chance to that if he did survive, there might have been issues caused by that medicine. Anyways, at that point, we're just like, we will deal with that if we get to that point, but
Yeah.
just give it to him. So they're on the third level or third round of these meds, and they kind of start talking like, hey, if you guys ever want to stop care, you have to let us know. And Alad was like, I can't. I mean, he's crying. He's like, I can't do that. I can't kill my son. And they were sweet. They were trying to help. They're just like, oh, don't think of it that way. But just Alad and I, the Lord is the author and or the life taker and life giver. Anyways, came out weird, but giver of life and taker of life. But so that's what we were hoping for. Like, we don't want to make this decision. So they had said his heart rate was dropping, not like very fast, dropping a little bit every 20 minutes. So they said, we're gonna leave. All of us are gonna leave and give you all a few minutes to talk. And what I felt like was them leaving and immediately coming back. I mean, it was so fast to me. They said his heart rate is dropping quickly. So you have two options. You can either, we can just see what happens and bring him, try and bring him back if we need to. But if we can't get him back, he will die without you holding him while he's alive. So if you want to hold him while he's alive, you need to hold him now. And that essentially meant taking him off of everything except pain meds and essentially saying, okay, like, this is it. He's just going to die in our arms. So, but Alad and I previously, like, 20 minutes before all this happened, we found this out months later, silently asked the Lord, prayed to the Lord, if you are not going to heal him, please take him, because I can't make that decision and I don't want to make that decision. So please just take him. So when they came back and told us all of this and gave us those two options to let him see what happens if they could resuscitate him, they would, or we could take him off and hold him. That just seemed like the Lord was answering our prayers in those moments, because we were like, we can take him off. We want to hold him while he's alive. If the Lord wants to change it, he'll make him breathe. He'll change everything that's wrong with his body. He will fix it.
Yeah.
But if not, we want to hold him while he's still alive. So we took him off. And again, this is where I kind of wish I knew how long it had been, but I would say probably no more than 5 minutes. We were holding him. We were talking to him. And then the doctor, the NICU doctor, who was so sweet, but he just kind of did that little kind of like a little head nod of like, I'm going to check him now.
Yeah.
And just walked over and checked him and then just said, yeah, he's gone.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
so yeah, that's a condensed version of everything that happened. So
Oh my goodness. And
yeah,
thank you for sharing that.
you're
I
welcome.
I can identify with that feeling really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I know you kind of shared about this anyway already, but if there's anything else that comes to mind, are there any specific memories of him that you hold especially close?
Yeah, probably yeah, I know. Yeah, talked about his little hands
Mm-hmm.
wrapping around our finger. And it did seem like he, for a 3 pound, 35-week-old baby that's 3 pound, 10 ounces, they kind of kept his hat over his eyes a lot.
Mm.
Which there's so many things like looking back now, I'm like, oh, I wish we had like brought his brother in with him and pulled them next to each other. Or, anyways, I wish we had
Yeah,
seen more of his face, but I'm not thinking about that in those moments.
sure.
But yeah, sometimes it seemed like some of the things that we would say, like he would either move his hand a little bit, or
Mm.
again, that could, I'm not saying that he's like, oh, hi, mommy, and his, squeeze my finger, because there are other things that can be going on. But there were just very sweet moments. And then the teaching pastor, when he came, there's a picture of him. I think Shemayah is holding his hand too, or he's at least like holding his little hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, there's not that many moments because it was 11 p.m. and he passed away at about 2 a.m.
Mm.
So he was almost exactly 12 hours
Yeah.
postpartum. Um, so yeah, there's weren't too many moments of holding or anything, but I
Right.
mean, I guess too, when we were holding him for his final
Mm-hmm.
breaths, he was in our arms. So,
Mm.
and that I will say that was when you talked about peace.
Mm.
Peace that the world does not understand, because
Yeah. Yeah.
everything, yeah, the world would say, how do you have peace? But I can tell you that in those moments, I was crying, but there was so much peace
Yeah.
in those final moments with him,
Mm.
because things that I had written, I know part of his eulogy was just, it was, and I don't know, like, I don't know what I was expecting, but it was so gentle and
Mm.
just, and quick. Like, he wasn't, and it might have been the pain meds working too. I don't know how that works, but he wasn't like gasping for air or anything. It was just
Mm.
very gentle and
Yeah.
so.
I get that too. I mean, I don't want to share too much of my own story. This is your story, and I'm going to share mine eventually anyway. But yeah, just I remember holding my little girl after she had passed, and the peace that was
Mhm,
over me, and even the things that came out of my mouth were a total
mhm,
surprise to me, but they were like so comforting to my spirit and my soul. And I'm like, I will never ever forget that.
mhm,
It's just completely, it became like something really precious, and yeah, something that I will share with everybody about her passing and God blessing it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is a so much of a proof of someone's like, how can you believe, in a God who
Mm.
can do this? Or I'm like, well, there's a scripture that talks about peace that surpasses understanding,
Right,
and
right.
that, if any moment, would say the opposite of what we were supposed to have in those moments.
Hmm.
But no. So yeah, a testimony to the Lord that he is
Hmm.
real and
Yeah,
with us.
yeah. Okay, so let's fast forward just a little bit. Um, Now you have a newborn baby to take care of, and but what was it like planning a funeral for your baby while you were also caring for a newborn?
Well, part of, back to your question about, or just to add to your question about
Hmm.
people at church, um, there is a lady who was a lot of help to me. They lost their first little baby. They lost their first. And she came to the hospital and had said, I can help you with this. She told us where their little girl was buried, which is where we ended up going because that funeral home cemetery have like a special section for Northside babies. And so the church was the one, like the teaching pastor helped, like basically took care of all of the details for us. So we really didn't have to plan it. There were a few questions, obviously that they had to ask us, but the majority of it was done by people from our church.
It's wonderful.
So yes, that was a huge blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did grief affect those first few weeks of postpartum?
Again, very fuzzy. Well, so actually baby A ended up going to the NICU for 2 weeks. So it there just wasn't much to think about in terms of losing Shemayah, because it was like we were just trying to figure out, okay, who was going to stay at home with our daughter and who was going to stay at the hospital, because we always wanted one of us to be there.
Sure.
And for the most part, the Lord again provided and allowed that to happen, because my sweet mother came and watched our daughter for basically those 2 weeks. We did try and like give her, like, we would come home for a few hours so that she could go home or just get out of our house for a little bit. So the first 2 weeks, I mean, I don't think I thought about it too much. It was really just wanting our son to be out of NICU and at home with us, and just concentrating on that.
Yeah.
I did actually end up writing a lot of things that I forgot I had written. So I did a lot of writing about Shemayah and everything that happened, which did help, because it's just hard to grieve when there are other children that, need care.
Yeah. So actually, how did all of this affect her? Like, was she aware of what was going on, or?
She had turned 2, so she turned 2 in May, and then they were born in July. So she was freshly 2. And we had told her, like, oh, mommy has 2 babies in her tummy. And she didn't fully understand a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I think what affected her the most is that mommy and daddy just left like a normal day, and then she was thrown into this chaos of mommy and daddy not being home. And while she loves my mother, and like just trying to make it as normal as possible, when we got home, there were nights that she had gone to bed great. Before all this, we would just be like, good night, we love you, sweet dreams. And she would like read to herself or sing for a little bit, and then like she was fine. But when we got back, if we didn't stay, I mean, she really struggled with that time. So I mean, it wasn't like she knew she had lost a brother. It was more so the missing mommy and daddy.
Yeah. Hi friends, I want to pause here for just a moment and share something with you before we continue. This isn't part of the conversation we recorded, but it is something that's important for what we're building here on Good Mourning Mom. I'm sending every guest a small comfort kit, a tangible reminder that they are seen, supported, and not alone in their grief. And I've opened up a way for listeners to be part of that. If this conversation is touching you, or if you simply want to help make something like that possible, you can do that through the podcast. You'll find the link in the show notes if you'd like to sponsor a kit or contribute in any way. And now, we're going to get right back into the conversation. So how did you and your husband lean on each other through that season of grief?
That was something that I expected would be easy.
Mm,
And it was not, because we found out very quickly that we grieve differently.
mm,
For instance, like I don't know if you feel the same. It's like this, I don't know, I'm sure there's a name for it, but those doctors, those nurses were part of our life for not very long, but also just it was very deep moments that
right.
they knew us. So I felt like this like weird connection, I guess. It's just like when we officially left NICU, it just felt like there was no more connection to Shemayah. I don't know if that makes
Mm,
sense, but it's just
yeah,
that
totally.
we knew him there, everything happened there, and it was just
Hmm.
like another thing that was cut off that
Yeah.
yeah, if that so
Kind of like that's when the weight of the loss really hits.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted, I was the one that was like, I want to go back and look at the pictures. I want to go
Mm,
back and read everything I wrote. I want to basically just relive the moments with him.
yeah.
And Alad was not like that. He needed time before he was ready to look at the pictures. Or we had someone give us a double stroller before everything happened. And
Mm,
um, he was never a fan of like going on walks, just even when it was just and our daughter.
yeah.
Um, so I, after, we brought baby A home and all these things, and it was like, let's go on a walk. And he was so just reluctant for a while until he was like, I don't want to see that stroller because that
Yeah.
stroller was meant to hold both of our boys, and it's not
Right.
now. So things like that where it was just
Hmm.
and it's just hard because we had two other kids that we had to take care of, so that was a struggle. And
Mm,
it was a struggle for a while until our community group leaders sent us a video of three, I don't, are all of them pastors? I'm gonna say his name probably wrong. Tim Challies, I think, is that how you say his name? It was him and two other men, and all three of them had lost children at various ages. But anyways, in this interview that they had or discussion that they had talked about how they grieve differently than their wives, and it was very, I guess, comforting to know that it just wasn't something wrong with us. Like
yeah. Yeah.
this is normal, because some couples it can just drive you so much closer, but
Right.
it was just something I'm like, why is this hard too? Like I thought
Yeah.
this would be easy,
Mm,
but it would have been hard if it had just been my husband and I, but
hmm.
that and having kids, that it seems like as the small amount of time that you have alone, the second you start to, I guess, grieve or process things, it's like you hear this little voice who snaps you back to reality.
Hmm.
So anyways, yes, that was hard, and it took a good chunk of time to
Yeah.
not be as hard.
Yeah.
Um,
So do you guys think that you have learned to speak each other's grief language in all of this?
Probably not.
Yeah.
It's still just a process, because also, quick side note is that today is the very last day of my husband's first year in seminary. So
Oh,
there's
wow.
this other stuff that's going on. So
Sure.
hopefully the summer plans are to read some books together. Like we were given some people at church gave us a few good books
Hmm.
that have just been so sweet and so helpful. So the plan was to do some of those together. So
Hmm.
hopefully the summer will be a time where even, I mean, it's like, oh, it's already 2 years, that's, you've missed the window. What? No, it's not. Like,
Yeah,
it,
no,
it is
no.
there
Yeah.
forever, and it could take
Yeah.
a long time to figure
Yeah, I
things.
mean, I've said this in other recordings as well, but grief is not about getting over something or
Mhm.
moving past something. It's about how do I take this and integrate it into my life in a way that's not going to keep me pinned down? Like,
Mhm.
how do I
Yes.
allow for the space to grieve and the space to mourn and to feel whatever I need to feel, like while I'm still moving forward in my everyday life. Yeah, it's not a thing that you're gonna, oh, well, once I get to this point, then the
Mhm.
grief won't be there anymore. That just doesn't happen. So I hope that, yeah, I hope that you guys can continue to learn each other's language and grow in that support. Um, so one thing that you said in your initial form that really stood out was that the Lord was always there. You kind of talked about this a little bit, but let's highlight that specifically. What are some moments where you especially felt his presence?
So yes, like I had mentioned those little points of mercy that I call them. I don't know what else to call them. Um, but yes, again, when he actually died and the peace came over, or we had
Right.
that peace from the Lord, but also this past year, um, Psalm 77 was something that I would cling to because it's entitled, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. I look to you in my day of trouble. That's what the psalm is entitled. Um, and verse 11 talks about basically, to paraphrase, like remembering the deeds of the Lord. And so, honestly, it's just going back and looking, like I had said, in those moments where if the Lord was not there, like our life would have been so much more, just in so much more chaos. The
Yeah.
fact that our daughter was always taken care of, always had someone to watch her. The
Hmm.
fact that he put I mean, I know I said it, but just the NICU doctor that we had, and we had a couple, but like the one that was there when he died and everything happened
Yeah.
was just so sweet, and they were just so kind. And um I mean, that's really just what I have done the past 2 years, is just going back and reliving those moments where he was. The fact that that MRI doctor, or the one who's going to read it, just cleared her schedule for us. I mean, they were
Hmm.
just, you can't explain. I mean, there was no, oh, that's really good luck. Like, you just cannot explain those moments
Hmm.
away other than saying, yes, that was the Lord.
Mm.
Um, I hope that answers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just what I've done.
Yeah. And you mentioned also that your story keeps getting longer because you continue seeing where God was carrying you. And can you share more examples of like what has happened since then, or how does your story keep growing?
Well, the one thing that comes to mind um, is that I wouldn't have ever said that I did not experience any kind of like postpartum depression with our
Mm.
first baby, and I don't. I'm assuming, but I know I can't assume. I don't think that I've experienced full depression, but
Mhm.
the first like 7 or 8 months after Shemayah died, there were just moments that our other son would be laughing or giggling or smiling, and I'm not reciprocating. Like, I'm just staring at him and I'm thinking to
Mm.
myself, I should be laughing and I should be smiling, and I'm not. So, fast forward 7 or 8 months, I end up seeing this lady who we used to go to the congregation with. Um, and she came up to me and she said, I have wanted to tell you this for a very long time. And she's like, I'm not saying this because I think that you're doing it.
Mhm.
But she said, don't forget the ones who are still here.
Mm.
And the Lord used her to, I guess, essentially start to lift the fog,
Yeah.
because I had been letting, and it's not to say, oh, don't just ignore what happened with Shemayah and, he's in heaven, it's fine. But I had been letting his death
Mm.
and all of the pain and sorrow that comes with it outweigh every ounce of joy that we had with our other son.
Yeah.
So having to, like, one lady at church had said, because I think a similar thing happened with her cousin where they had twins and one of them passed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're holding joy and sorrow, like joy in one
Yeah.
hand, sorrow in the other.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, those February ish, March ish, anyways, 7 to 8 months later, the Lord used that lady to just open my eyes to
Mm.
what I had been doing, not obviously on purpose, but
Right. Right.
He allowed the fog to start to
Yeah.
lift. Um,
Yeah. I can identify with that as well because for me, my little girl Ruby, she had been with me while I was pregnant with my first son, and she passed away 2 months before he was born. So when he came along, I for the first little while, I would have these periodic feelings of resentment toward him for not being her. And like that was, I felt so guilty feeling that. And I felt like, um, like I was worried that the look on my face would affect his emotional health and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know if that's something that gets talked about a lot in these situations. Probably not. But for me, like, yeah, I can recognize kind of that same sense of like not taking the moment to enjoy the people that are still here. I get that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there moments where you felt angry or confused or just spiritually exhausted?
I wouldn't say I was ever angry, um, but definitely, I know at one point it was just kind of like, why would you let him live this long? Why would you let him be born
Mm,
just to take him?
yeah.
Um, and then that's kind of when the Lord would, or the Holy Spirit would just bring back scripture verses like the ones talking about the clay and the potter.
Hmm.
Um, but no, there's, and also Psalm 139:16 that talks about how he has numbered our days, basically, depending on your translation, but he's numbered our days before there were any.
Hmm.
Um, and so, again, if he could have changed anything, he could have changed the outcome, and he
Hmm.
didn't. And
Hmm.
so, I also there were moments that I was very adamant that we needed two names
Mm,
for Shemayah. And it was like, well, we need a name for if he lives, and we need a name for if he dies, just to kind of like, it was like this kind of weird way because it was like if he died, we needed a name that meant something like the Lord is still good, or,
mm,
you know, if he lived, the Lord, answers prayers, like some, and it
yeah.
just, I was so set on that. And we actually didn't even have a name for Shemaiah until after he
Mm,
passed. But months later, after he passed, the Lord had, again through scripture, just reminded me that it was never a question of if he would live, but where he would live.
right.
And that whether it's with us on earth or the Lord in heaven, he didn't die. He is alive. He did
Yeah.
live. It's just not where I thought he would live. Uh,
Yeah.
so no, a lot of, still, like I said, just a lot of questioning, just why, um, and specifically in Isaiah, I think it's in the Isaiah 45, where it kind of, again, to paraphrase, because I did not pull it up, but essentially just like, I think one at verse 9 maybe says like, woe to the clay who strives with the potter.
Mm.
Again, very big paraphrase on that, but just essentially, when I was questioning the Lord, I had to check my spirit and my attitude and my heart,
Mm-hmm.
because I am clay and I have no right to say, how dare you? You owe me an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I demand an answer from you. I mean, read the end of Job. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot demand anything of the Lord. It is a mercy that my son is even with him in heaven.
Mm.
Is a mercy that I am saved. Um, so I just had to be very careful how I asked the
Mm-hmm.
Lord why. Um, because asking why is not wrong. It's just I could not say it in a, you owe me this kind of
Right.
attitude. So,
And keep that humility. Yeah.
mhm,
What would you say to grieving mothers who do feel abandoned by God right now?
that is a very good question. Um, Actually, there was one time I was talking to our teaching pastor's wife, um, because I didn't plan on going to this Bible study because I was hoping that I would be taking care of two boys.
Mhm.
So they were born in July, he died in July, and then in August, our next Bible study started. And that was a book called Intended for Good by Melvin Tinker. And we were doing Romans 8:28. And that book um, is what we read um, while going through talking about Romans 8:28. And I was talking to her, and I had said, this does not feel like the Lord cares about me. This does not feel like He loves me. Um, how, if He knows how much I love my children, how much I wanted to hold my son, why would He do this?
Mm.
But going through this book, I mean, it is heartbreaking story after story of pain and sorrow, but then you comes the promise of Romans 8:28. You see all of these things that happened because of what this person went through. And I may never ever know why
Yeah.
Shemayah died. But the promise is that the Lord will use it. For
Mhm.
those who love him, for believers, he will use it for good.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, I did feel for a little bit, like I said, how could he do this? Why would he do this? But that kind of like Psalm 77 too, sorry, as well, Psalm 77 as well. It kind of does that where it's like, have you forgotten your compassion? Have you forgotten your faithfulness? And then you keep reading and it says, I remember your deeds, and then goes from there. And no, you haven't forgotten me. You haven't ignored compassion. You haven't forsaken me. You haven't, you're not going to forget your promises.
Yeah.
So honestly, and the times that I have felt far, like the Lord has abandoned me, it's
Mhm.
not the Lord. It was me running to something else, or um, just not, yeah, I mean, running to something else, running to whatever, wisdom of the world. But he knows, he knows our pain. He is the only one who knows the true depth of our pain.
Right.
And so, I mean, just the encouragement is just to go to the Lord.
Mm.
And if you're not a believer, that is the bigger the biggest thing to do is go to the Lord and accept him as your Lord and Savior, because without the Lord, we would have fallen apart. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you honor or remember Shemaiah now?
Um, we have we went through the hospital pictures that they took for us, and I mean, you would know too. I just when you talk about like after the fall and that, death and decay entered the world,
Mm-hmm.
it was so fast. Like
Mm.
holding him after he had died,
Yeah.
it was so weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so anyways, the pictures are very nice, but it's different, very
Oh,
very
yeah.
different to
It
see
is. Yeah, for
a
sure.
living. Yeah.
Yeah,
um
I remembered two things about that in particular. One was while I was holding her and she was not there. Like it was so evident, like
yeah.
I know this body, but I don't know this, like this is not my child. Like she's not here, you
Mhm.
know? And then there was also just the physical aspect of like I was holding her and her body was not responding the same way that it would when it was alive, and that felt very strange. And it was like I don't know, it was on one hand, it was like showing me how much of an empty shell the body really is.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and then on the other hand, also showing me appreciation for the body that I had not had before. Like
Mhm.
this shell, it's so strangely empty, but at the same time, like I've never looked at a body and felt so connected to that physical form either. Like this is
Mhm.
my baby, and like I've never felt that way about my own body, you know? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a very affecting thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we took the one of the pictures that looks, I don't know to say, the most alive, where it you can't really tell that his lips are blue or that.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was the best picture that we had, that it just looked like he was sleeping. And I mean, he looks so much, I mean, they were identical. He looks
Yeah.
so much like his brother. um so we did that, and then I had a necklace made, um that has a verse on it. It's First Corinthians. Wait, let me check and make sure. I think, or is it Second Corinthians 1, 3, and 4? Look it up. It just talks about how like God is the God of all comfort, and He comforts us in our affliction so that we can comfort others. Um, and so that one I have on the necklace. Um,
Mm.
anyways, that's what. Sorry, back to your question. Um, about honoring him. We honestly, and again, this is just because life has gotten really busy.
Mhm.
We go back. We went to his, like, on their first birthday, because he died on the 20th. So they were born on the 19th. He died on the 20th. So we went back, to his grave, and again, it's really hard to take little kids there
Yeah.
because a spider crawled on our daughter and she was like screaming, and it's just, anyways, so we had planned to go back, just the two of us, and we
Mhm.
haven't. So we plan to like get a little, like, some fake flower, just something to put,
Mhm.
um, on the plaque that we had made. um and so anyways, we always also talk, like when we pray with our kids at night, we thank the Lord for the two of them and thank the Lord for their brother Shemayah, who is in heaven, with the Lord. And so even though they're so, kids are so blunt. They're not trying to be mean, they're just blunt. So
Right.
kind of in those first like 6 months, sometimes our daughter would say, Shemayah died. And it's just like that's all she
Yeah.
understands.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes Shemaya's with God.
Mhm.
Um, so we always talk about him and thank the Lord for him.
Mhm.
Um, and his middle we made his middle name Doron, which means gift.
Mhm.
And so it's just he was a gift. All children are gifts,
Right.
whether they live with us or the Lord. Um, so yeah, I mean those are kind of just the three things that
Mhm.
we have to
Yeah.
talk about him, remember him.
If you could go back and speak to yourself in the hospital in those moments, what would you say?
I probably just would have just wanted encouragement through scripture.
Mm.
I mean, I still have this friend, but she sent me a couple songs
Mm.
that I just had on repeat, and I just cried and listened to these songs and cried and listened to these songs just because a lot I wanted him with baby A. I wanted him up there in NICU as much as possible because I
Yeah.
was fine. Like I was fine.
Before we end, is there anything about Shemaiah or his life that you would want the world to know?
um, well, I did say his middle name, but Shemaiah also means God hears.
Mm.
Um, so I named him Shemaiah Doran. Shemaiah means the Lord or God hears, because we know that the Lord heard us, still hears us.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, Doran means gift because he was a gift. Um, I mean, he was Psalm 139. The Lord knit him together. I don't know why he knit him with small kidneys and a small bladder. Um, but the Lord made him, the
Hmm.
Lord designed him, the Lord chose to have him not live on earth with us. Um, but it's just everything that, I mean, the people, like the doctors and the nurses we met, we continue to just pray that we were a good witness and a good testimony. And there are some people who we have prayed for their salvation. And my husband and I have talked about if this is a way that they are saved, then that is, I mean, salvation is ultimately what matters. We know where Shemaiah is. Um, I mean, we loved him, and that was, I think, too. I think our teaching pastor told us at the gravesite that there is so much pain for Shemaiah because there was so much love for Shemaiah.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it's kind of hard to answer. Just only what I would say is he was 35 weeks when he was born, so he was alive for 35 weeks and 12 hours.
Yeah.
So I have like 30 years to, talk about him, but he is proof of a living God who creates, and like just learning about how lungs are formed, and
Mm.
this is not by chance. This is by a loving creator who designs all of us uniquely, and he drew I mean, this experience drew us closer to the Lord.
Hmm.
um, so I guess just running from the Lord during pain is not the answer, because where else am I going to go?
Right.
Nothing's gonna help me. It might for a time, but I know that probably doesn't answer too much of your question. But he mattered, and he was beautiful, and we will never ever forget him, obviously.
Mm. What would you want another grieving mother listening today to remember?
I mean, truly, for the ones who don't know the Lord, that is my greatest encouragement, is to know the Lord, to accept him, because time does not heal. Words do not heal. The Lord is the only one who heals. But you might know the poem, the Weaver poem. So for those who trust the Lord, like I said, asking about why, it makes me cry pretty much every time I read it. It's short, but the guy who wrote it is Grant Colfax Tuller. That's it, if I'm saying that right. Tullar. He wrote, "My life is but a weaving between my God and me. I cannot choose the colors he weaveth steadily. Oft times he weaveth sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper and I the underside. Not till the loom is silent and the shuttles cease to fly will God unroll the canvas and reveal the reason why. The dark threads are as needful in the weaver's skillful hand as the threads of gold and silver in the pattern he has planned. He knows, he loves, he cares. Nothing this truth can dim. He gives the very best to those who leave the choice to him." And there were times I feel like I would say, okay, it's in God's hand, and feel like I can't do anything, I shouldn't do anything. Just the Lord will do what he wants to do. And that was not the best attitude, because we can pray. We can ask the Lord and tell him, talk to him. But he is the one who knows the reason, he knows the full picture, he knows what this will be used for.
Yeah.
And I need to remember and ask myself, do I believe that he is good? Do I believe that he is still good after the death of Shemayah?
Right.
And just to ask yourself that, do you really believe that he is good? Because, I mean, we know he is. That is throughout scripture, that he is good, he is faithful, he is merciful. I am nothing without the Lord. And I did have a friend, when we went through the Romans 8:28 Bible study, talk about how the Lord is this holy and fearful and awesome God, but he does care for us. So for those who have gone through this, he does care about this pain. He isn't like some cruel boy who is pulling off the wings of flies and being like, well, this is your life now, deal with it.
Yeah.
His definition of good is not the same as mine, because I would never say that going through a trial is good.
Right.
So just my encouragement is just to trust him and draw near to him. Read, just read the scripture, pray, seek godly counsel. I don't know. I just can't say anything outside of the Lord, really.
Okay.
To run to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's episode of Good Mourning Mom. And thank you to Claire for sharing Shemayah's story with such honesty, tenderness, and faith. If today's conversation resonated with you, I hope it reminded you that grief and hope can exist together, and that even in the deepest pain, you are not alone. If you'd like to support the podcast, share this episode with someone who may need it, leave a review, or follow along for future conversations with grieving mothers sharing their stories of loss, love, and healing. And as always, wherever you are in your grief journey today, I'm sending you so much love. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time on Good Mourning Mom, where mourning is still mothering and your love still matters.